Hello, Sue. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thanks, Neil. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. It's Tuesday, it's been busy, so I think the week's going to go pretty quickly. So firstly, thank you for agreeing to have a wee chat with me for Third Sector Collaboration Week. You'll be aware, obviously, that we've been doing a wee bit of work with you on the project, and I was keen to speak with you for the week, and that also helps you kind of promote your work and what you're doing. So firstly, to start us off, I was wondering whether you could tell me a wee bit about the Rural and Island Communities Knowledge Initiative, or RICKI for short.
Great name, isn't it, Ricky? It took us a while to get to it, as you know.
I like a backronym. It's almost like it's kind of like you've decided what the acronym's going to be, and then.
Yeah, I think we did do it a little bit that way, right? To be honest, yeah. I'm Sue Rawcliffe. I'm research and engagement worker with Inspiralba, and I suppose Ricky came out of our work on the Hub for Rural Social Enterprise. So a couple of years ago, the Scottish Government, because of Inspiralba's work over a number of years advocating for rural social enterprise, Scottish Government provided some funding to set up a hub, which was, it's an online resource. And one of our original aims for that online resource was that it would be a repository or somewhere, or a go-to place really for people who were interested in rural social enterprise. So as part of that work, one of the first things I did when I started working on the hub was to have a look at the sort of research based on rural social enterprise. So, searching through what academic articles there were, what other reports had been written, all the different, materials that were available. And I think what came through strongly was that, the research base is still fairly limited and undeveloped on rural social enterprise. There's a huge amount of writing on social enterprise, but much of that is based on an urban model. And any work, or a lot of the work on rural social enterprise, also tends to be carried out by research institutes that probably still have a bit of an urban lens. So, not entirely, but that was a sense, was that very much an urban lens looking at a rural situation, and research being carried out often by people who didn't necessarily come from or didn't necessarily have an understanding of the rural context and how that might be different. So alongside our work on the rural hub, sorry, my computer's just running out of battery. There we go. We're back on again. Sorry about that one. Alongside our work on the rural hub, we've also been developing, in conjunction with SenScot, the Rural Social Enterprise Network. And so that seemed a sort of obvious place to start talking about this. And so at one of the meetings, I'd suggested that, we wanted to have a look at what a research agenda that came from rural social enterprises themselves might look at, and how, would it be an idea maybe just to get a group of people together to start thinking about this. So we set ourselves up we called ourselves a focus group, and we set ourselves up in July 2020. And we've probably had about 5 or 6 meetings over the intervening year, really just starting to think about, what would an agenda that actually came directly from the experience of rural social enterprises and rural and island communities look like, and how would that be different to maybe the research agenda that is coming from elsewhere or being developed elsewhere, and also how might we set about doing that. So that's quite a bit of a long answer, but that's where we came from.
Oh, that's great. And I think you've actually answered my second question pretty much already, like asking why you were kind of involved. It kind of to reframe social enterprise really in a rural context, the research that's kind of coming out. And what is your role as a partner? So Inspiralba, what's Inspiralba's role?
Well, Inspiralba's role so far, I think, has been really in terms of supporting the group. So our role has been, we've had my post has existed, and so our role really has been in terms of facilitating, meetings, facilitating debates and discussions. A couple of, initially the focus group wrote we've written a couple of papers that have gone back to the rural SEN saying this is what we're thinking this agenda might look like, these are the things that we think might be important. Just facilitating all of that. And I guess as we've started to think about how would we develop the group further, that was when I came to you as P4P, because people started talking about memorandums of understanding and collaborations and things which are way out of my skill set. So that's when I thought I better contact the experts. So that's how I came into contact with you. But I guess the why of what we're doing is, very clearly the group have been very clear about they want to create change. They believe that knowledge creation and research is key to understanding what helps rural and island communities and social enterprises thrive. And they believe that rural and island social enterprises and rural and island communities should be really at the heart of that research agenda, and not really called in to provide the information that is then sort of used and extracted by other people to further their own research interests, I guess. So it's, we've started talking about community ownership of knowledge, and I think that's quite an interesting concept.
Okay, thanks for that. That's really interesting. And what are what are you hoping to achieve long term?
Well, I suppose all of those things. We'd want to raise the profile of rural and island social and community enterprise. And the role that they play, the really vital and important role that they play within rural and island communities. We've got we've got huge numbers of rural and island social enterprises, often providing lifeline services across rural Scotland. So raising the profile of that, understanding better how that relates to the local economies. And we've been very clear that we want, that there's no point doing research for research's sake, or no point developing knowledge for knowledge's sake. It has to have an agenda for change built into that. And one of the key things that we've been looking at is, how do we, young people are the future of our rural and island communities, and how do we ensure that young people are at the centre of that, either developing the agenda or actually carrying out the the knowledge gathering activities, and how can we actually make sure that we're developing skills and knowledge and expertise that stays within communities, and contributes to the future development of those communities.
Okay, thanks for that as well. And also from a purely narcissistic point of view, what difference has P4P made to you, and how did we help you? Obviously, I can answer that question myself to some extent.
We should do different answers, shouldn't we? No, absolutely, really, really helpful. As I said, when people started talking about memorandums of understanding and collaboration, models of collaboration, it was like, whoa, yeah. I've worked in lots of different things, but I've never really done those formal partnership structures. So I think it was really important in terms of that expertise. And that we were able to tap into the expertise that you had, and that it was easy. It was very easy to make contact and to gather information, and that was a really helpful first step in terms of I think we had a discussion about what it might look like, what we could do, and that just helped clarify my thinking in terms of supporting the group and going back to the group. So I think the first thing was that expertise. I think the second thing that was being really important was the independent facilitation that you gave us, because as you discovered from the sessions that we did, we're quite a chatty group, and
I'm always up for that. It's a lot better than being the opposite.
Yeah. We've got a lot of people with research expertise who are sort of quite specific and quite detailed in terms of how they would like things to be.
There was some strong opinions.
So actually having an independent strong opinions, yes, that might be one way of putting it, yeah. So that sort of independent facilitation was really, really helpful. And because we were in the middle of the COVID thing, we couldn't meet in person. We needed to do it on Zoom. And so I think the sessions that we had with you were just really, really helpful in terms of helping to focus and clarify our thinking. So we went through different forms of collaboration. You helped us nail down quite what we were wanting to achieve. And I think also having an independent facilitator, you know, having you involved, just meant that the group got to know each other a little bit better as well, because, you know, that was the first kind of facilitated session that we've done, and everyone could relax a bit. And, you know, even some of the icebreakers and things like that were kind of important, because as a group, we've been meeting all this time, you know, online and, you know, not in person. So, you know, all of that was important. So independent facilitation really helps us focus and clarify our thinking. And then I think, you know, the follow-up that you did, producing the documents, was just really, really helpful. So that was really helpful. And we had, you know, documents that we could respond to. Of course, not everybody accepted them all, and there'll be minor changes and all the rest. But, you know, just having something to work from, I think, just moved the process forward much, much quicker than if we'd been trying to do it ourselves.
No worries. Thank you very much for that. That's
really,
very
really helpful. So now I think, you know, we no, but, you know, we've ended up from, what did we do? 2 sessions and some follow-up. You know, we've got a set of objectives, we've got way of working, you know, we've got a vision written down, and now we're able to, you know, take forward, looking for funding and taking the whole project forward. So no, it's been very, very helpful.
Thanks for that. And just to finish off, what advice do you have for anyone that's considering forming a new partnership or looking at a new collaborative project?
I think it takes a lot more time than I thought it would. I think, you know, it seems to me that it's a process that you have to front load, that you really have to put the time into the discussions and the, you know, working out the structures that are going to work, working out what's going to be particularly important for your partnership. And I think although there are lots of models there, I think you have to have the one that actually fits for you, and that it's not something that you can necessarily pull off the shelf, if, you know, ideally if you have time. But I would say this is really my first experience in quite a long career of developing a formal partnership. I've done lots of informal ones before, but starting to develop a sort of more formal partnership, and it's been really, really interesting piece of work. So yeah, thanks for your help.
Thank you very much, Sue, and thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure.
Thank you.